Welcome to my YouTube channel. I'm Catherine Holland of catherineholland.co.uk and my business is Indestructible Soul, connecting you with your soul by living fully in your physical body in this lifetime. This is episode 2, where I am asking why I chose the word indestructible for my business. So what I'd like to talk about, partly due to an accident that I had, and partly because, as I said in the first episode, that I don't get ill, that I've been looking at how this is, why this happens, how is it possible, and also the realisation that it's not unique, it's not just me that lives like this, everybody can do it. We just have to follow these certain patterns and habits, and then we will be well. And what I would like to say also is that it is not a life of deprivation, because it has become fashionable, I suppose, for people to feel that if they want a treat, it's going to be bad for them. If they want food that's good for them, it's not going to be enjoyable. And if they want to feel well, they need to exercise, but exercise is horrid. Those sorts of things that have come from some traditional thought patterns about whether we're actually supposed to be enjoying life. And I believe we are. I believe that life is supposed to be fun. So, my experience when I was hit by the car was traumatic. It was a big shock, a big loss of blood, smashed bones, ripped off skin, ripped off muscles, big operations lasting hours and hours to stitch all back together. And then my experience of dying for a little while, my experience of my body weight dropping suddenly, of not really being aware in the world because my brain was running on very low ebb for some time. I wasn't really properly able to be conscious, and certainly not to open my eyes properly for about 5 days, and even then not for very long. So that was a big shock to my system. And afterwards, changing my tack slightly from the breath work that I'd been really interested in, I went to treat physical injuries. I trained to treat physical injuries and I developed a really good system. And lots of those people who came to me, the patients who came to me in my clinic, were interested in how it was that I had dealt with this injury, how it was that I could learn to ski after having had a leg that was in all sorts of pieces and an external fixator for 5 months. How did I do that? And lots of them suggested I write a book, which I resisted for 14 years. And I finally did it last year. And it's just being published now. That's Indestructible Soul, How I Decided Not to Die. And it will be on sale on Amazon from November the 9th. And it's also available in Kindle. But the reason for telling you this is when I started to write about it, I realised there was a pattern. I realised that not only were physical injuries treated by an increase of blood flow and an increase of oxygen supplied to cells, but that's how all illness is treated. That's how all cells need to work in the body. And that's the consequence of a lack of sufficient oxygen reaching cells is illness. Systemic illness, individual areas of illness, all illnesses are as a result of not enough nutrition of the right sort getting to every cell. And that includes oxygen from breath transport in the blood. It includes the nutrients that we eat or we don't eat. Each of these areas are dealt with in my book, in the guide, which I have written to accompany the book. And the guide is called Indestructible Health. You can get hold of it by looking at my website. And I'm now just going to have a little look to show you each of the areas that's dealt with in the guide. So the first one is breathing fully, and that is the basis for my training when people work with me, because I believe that's what saved my life. We Westerners breathe about 50% of the time. We suppress our breath a lot. 70% of the body's waste products go out in the out breath. So it's really important that we breathe fully. And our cultural training, which prevents us from expressing emotions, means that we hold our breath a lot. If you think about it physically, emotions are expressed in out breath. Our chest is the bellows that open and close our breath and our expression. So, to stop ourselves expressing fully, we have to hold our breath, at least partly. That's the foundation for the breathing problems that we have, and culturally, obviously, things like asthma. But then it affects the whole of the body because of the lack of exchange of oxygen and CO2 in the correct balance. So the other sections are drinking water. Your body needs it to clean itself. You wouldn't wash your clothes in tea or coffee or beer and expect them to get clean. High raw food intake. The body really needs a good proportion of the food raw to provide the enzymes necessary to digest and use it that are not present after it's been cooked higher than about 45 degrees C or 117 degrees Fahrenheit. Exercise. Find something that you really, really love to do that makes you feel good. Supportive medicines. And in that episode, I will go into the difference between medicine and medication. Careful choice of thoughts. Things we focus on affect our physiology. Loving people. For us to love people and to be with people who are loving also affects our health. Sunshine and fresh air. In this episode, I will talk about the importance of being in daylight, of being in sunshine, particularly in Britain, and the complete fallacy that has arisen about sunshine being harmful to us, because the exact opposite is true. And then the last episode from the guide Indestructible Health that I will be covering is deep tissue injury treatment, which is the phrase I use for the physical treatment that I developed based on a remedial massage injury training that I did. And I then really built on that because I had my own leg to treat and because I realised the importance of reaching the end of every muscle that you're treating and the way to get damaged tissue out and blood flowing through, which is quite an energetic thing, as in quite a lot of energy required to do it. But that's giving you an idea, an overview of the ways that I realised that we can increase circulation of oxygen in our bodies. And that's what I learned while I was writing my book, and that's why I wrote the guide Indestructible Health, which you can get from my website. It's free. And then in the next episode I will begin to address each of these areas, and I will also cover other topics as they arise. And I would love it if you would ask me anything in particular you want me to cover, because I've gleaned a huge amount of knowledge in the time I've been on Earth so far, and I love to share it. Thank you very much for watching. I'll see you in the next episode. Goodbye.